Hi there, this is Izzy. It's nice to see you again. I'm a home grower with no special equipment and I love growing orchids. And today I would like to show you the effects of too little water on some of my orchids. So it can be very hard to know how much to water your plants, and it's very easy to overwater them. But not watering them enough or watering them with a couple of mistakes can also cause them some damage. So you can either give them too little water or you can burn their roots or over fertilise them. The effects are the same though. So I just wanted to show you some of the most likely effects that I have in my collection, how this is similar to salt burn, and what happens when you get it right and you water your plants right. So first I want to show you one of my newer plants, which is an Oncidium Twinkle, and this one shows quite a few aspects of being underwatered. So when I got this plant, it had been sitting in the shop for a little while, and Oncidiums in general do like to have a lot of water, and so this one had been deprived of water. I repotted it into sphagnum moss when I got it. So this plant has experienced a change in its substrate, and it's also experienced the shock of coming from a shop where it hasn't been watered to here, which is a different environment. And all of these can affect the roots and can affect how much water the plant has had. And as you can see from this pseudobulb, it's very, very wrinkly. I think that's one of the classic signs of not having watered your orchids enough, is that the pseudobulb is wrinkly. There are some orchids that naturally have wrinkly pseudobulbs, and there are some that should be plump, should be fat. And you can easily find out online what yours should be. Now, having wrinkly pseudobulbs suggests that the plant has a depleted water store. So the plant in general has used the water from this bulb to do something else. And in this case, it's to produce new growths. So these plants have tried to use their water store for the best, to grow new bulbs, to grow new roots, and to get some water that they're desperately needing. Here across the front is a nice second example of what can happen on mature growth when it's water stressed. So here we see the leaf tip is brown, and this happens when the orchid can't get enough water to the tip of the leaf and it dies. This is more likely in plants with strap-like leaves or longer leaves, because the water has a lot further to go. And on this plant we can see a third example of what happens when a plant is water stressed. So down here, these new growths, we can see they're pleated. These are called accordion leaves, and this happens when the plant doesn't have enough water to push that new growth out at the rate that it's making it, and the new growth becomes crinkly. There's a few examples on here which I think correlate to this plant's time in the shop. Now, there are other defects you can have when you have new growth on a plant, such as the new growth can struggle to come out of the plant or can come out of strange locations on the base of the plant. But in general, they all come from the plant not having enough water pressure to force the new growth out in the way that it wants to. So these are all signs that this plant has had water stress. And there's another one that plants can have, which is they can have stunted growth. And this is what you often see when you bring a plant home from a shop and you see it's changed environment, it's gone through a lot of stress, but it may also have been short on water in the shop, and it can make a new growth, a new leaf, the next thing that grows, be a little bit small. Water stress is quite similar to salt burn. So saltburn is when the plants have been either over-fertilised, or if they're in sphagnum moss, they haven't been flushed with clean water and non-fertilised water from time to time. And it can also happen from not watering enough and then suddenly watering with a lot of fertiliser. So saltburn or over-fertilising basically drains the plant of water. The plant gives up the water to its medium, and that will dehydrate the plant. But that can also damage the roots, which can be quite delicate, and the concentrated salt can burn them. And the result after that can be even more signs of water stress on the top part of the plant. So water stress is something you can see over time in your growth most of the time, or you can see it immediately in the bulbs. And that damage doesn't go away. So I've got a few examples here. My Maxillaria tenuifolia with damaged tips here, or Maxillaria rufescens. Maxillarias do like a lot of water, but again, before I realised how much water this plant needed, I managed to burn these tips, and they're going to stay with me. Similarly, the growth defects, the accordion leaves, they're going to stay. So it's a case of learning how much water your plant actually needs and helping it to get that amount of water when you can. And when you get it right, your plants can really reward you. So the last plant I wanted to show you is my Hawira lava burst. And this plant hasn't flowered for me in my home growing environment, but when I bought it, it only had one pseudobulb, this one down at the bottom, so maybe that's not a surprise. But what you might notice is that the growths down here, all of this older stuff is shorter than this growth, which is the newest one. So I also realised I was underwatering this plant, partly because I was a little nervous about overwatering it at the time. And now that I've been watering it more, the newest growth is enormous compared to the old ones. So maybe this one's going to flower for me. So here's an example of stunted growth that hopefully over time I will correct. And I think that's the message with all of these, is that over time, once you've learnt how much your orchids want in terms of water, you can grow them out, grow over this damage, and they'll love you anyway. That's it for now. If you've enjoyed this video, please rate, review it down below, and also subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.